Eric Francis back again at the Broadway Lights Diner with a special edition of Planet Waves TV. And I'm here to tell you why I think that astrology is the right method or a very helpful method to use in our times of total chaos. One of the functions astrology serves is a method of making sense of the world. It does not contain the truth. I don't think astrology is the truth, but I think astrology provides a method of helping you focus your quest for what is true and what is true for you. So it's let's just adjust the light a little bit here. 1, 2, 1 1/3. No, that's way too dark. Okay, so working on your search of what is true for you. And that means helping you get your mind sorted out. And one of the things astrology does is it provides us with a bunch of categories that we call signs. The signs then transpose into houses. And so you get a wide diversity of categories. Categories might not be that helpful in most conditions, but sometimes categories are very helpful when there's enough of them and they are loose enough and they are generally descriptive, but accurate enough to help you give yourself ways to think about what's what and what's where. Okay, so the other thing that astrology does is, and I think this is first and foremost, is you've got your life, you've got your themes, your issues, your situation that you contain in yourself, and it can be very mixed up in there, and you might be, trying to get some perspective, and then suddenly you have this thing where you put all the factors onto a kind of a surface that's like a game board, right? And you're suddenly your life is on this thing that's like a Parcheesi board or a chess board, and you're a little bit above your own life. You're learning to think about your life from a different angle, a different point of view. This is one of the most important things that astrology and also tarot does for us, is they give us an abstraction. They give us a way to consider our existence not as a thing that we are all embroiled in, enmeshed in, but in a more objective or with a view down. It shifts the perspective. Okay, and this alone is therapeutic. This alone is helpful in that it can shift your point of view enough to help you to see things a little bit different way than you might ordinarily see things. That's really important. So just that alone, I think, without any planets at all, that you're willing to shift your viewpoint. Then there's also something about trusting the passage of time, because astrology is always about what happened in what moment. Okay, so as soon as you're doing that, as soon as you're trying to make sense or get a read on the passage of time, this implies a kind of trust in the passage of time, which is hinting that maybe possibly the right thing is happening. And so that again is subtle, and all of this can work on a subliminal level at first. Okay, then finally, I think the most significant thing about astrology as a practice beyond similar practices and beyond, for example, therapy, is that right now our lives are incredibly chaotic and seem random. There are many moving parts. There's almost total chaos in our world right now, and it's very difficult to make sense out of anything. And what astrology does is provide us with enough variables to be able to have an analysis that's complex enough to embrace all the possibilities. So one of the kinds of variables is that you have a chart with 12 houses, right? The 12 houses, your house doesn't have 12 rooms. Chances are that's a pretty big house. So here we have a big say, a neighborhood with 12 houses in it. And so you have to think about what's a matter of what house. That helps you sort things out. You don't even need any planets. What is, how do the affairs of that part of my life relate to the affairs of that part of my life? Well, there's going to be information from astrology about how one house relates to another house. And so even without any planets, you have a whole bunch of variables that you can count on to apply. Your color palette, your toolbox is big enough. But then if we start adding planets, the planets contain, here I've got my, introducing the planets, made by Lonvi. That's Chiron. There's a lot of planets. There's a lot of possibilities for where to put things. And so you get a sense of, there's that house with that activity going on in it. We've got Chiron. Chiron's in Aries right now. We know that's about focusing our sense of self. We know that it's about standing apart from the group. We know that it's about individuality. Individuality is very important at a time when most of what we're getting is the pressure to conform and to believe. Chiron in Aries can say, what am I thinking about this? So that's another way of saying that we have a lot of variables we can start to add to the chart, and you can find yourself in the variables. You might not relate to Saturn, that's somewhere here. You might not relate to the South Node, but you might relate to what Chiron is doing, certainly relate to what the Moon is doing. Put the Moon and Chiron together, you get an effect of the Moon and Chiron, and you can start to see these things going on like your life dramatized a bit apart from you. And you can look at your own world and you can start to make observations and possibly even draw some conclusions that are based on the gift of astrology to help us put things into categories, which are loose, gentle categories, the ability of astrology to help us see our life not like a thing we're all caught up in the middle of, but a thing that's laid out in front of us that we can study and consider. And then finally, we using planets have a way of putting ourselves, other people, Juno, values about relationship, Pluto, see where that's working through my psyche, and begin to do a somewhat comprehensive inquiry into what life and my life are about right now. Astrology has a lot of factors, and I think that it is singularly suited to provide us information in chaotic times because there are so many possibilities available for how to combine things. The problem with astrology is that essentially there are so many variables and the system can be so complicated that anyone can say anything about anything or anyone, and plenty of people are going to believe that it's true just because the whole system is so complicated. There are so many variables to consider. It is easy to bullshit, therefore, and you're unlikely to want to call somebody out on the bullshit unless you can say, well, I don't think Chiron and Aries dooms us all to feel like wounded individuals. Eric Francis said that Chiron and Aries is about awakening from those things. So you have to, in order to challenge the views of an astrologer, you have to know something about astrology or have a good bullshit sniffer to know when the person's making shit up and going out on a limb and not saying what is supportable. So one of the things you want to follow is the reasoning process of an astrologer. You want to know what they you want to follow in their astrology, how they go from that factor plus that factor equals that factor, and then here's what I think that might be about. You also, I think, with astrologers, want to study what their reasoning is outside of the astrological work. And I would say the question is studying their relationship to fear. What is the astrologer's relationship to fear? What is their do they, what is their inherent sense of humanity? Do they respect humanity? What do they inherently think a person is? I'd be curious to hear a lot of astrologers express their astrological views without having to make any reference to astrology. I use astrology because it's a convenient way to express metaphors that might not be as easily expressed elsewhere. So there's no way to, for example, talk about the 10th house as a concept as easily as you can by saying, oh, the 10th house, that's about relationship to authority, it's about relationship to family authority, it's corporate authority, it's government authority, it's your personal accountability, it's your whole authority and accountability complex is contained in your 10th house. It's a very convenient way to talk about that idea. And so what it gives us is terms of art for ordinary things that you might not be able to express as easily. So therefore, in using astrology, be cautious. Don't assume that it's true. Assume that it's a more or less viable metaphor for your life. If I pursue that metaphor, if I consider that metaphor, what is the benefit in my thinking? So one of the ways that I present astrology, since I do it a heck of a lot, is I don't assume that everyone's necessarily going to follow what I'm saying or be able to verify what I'm saying, but I do know that by doing my part to bring astrology into the exoteric world, into the world of people and conversations, that I am introducing ideas that just might get someone thinking or thinking about themselves. I think astrology is very good for asking questions rather than for making pronouncements. And one way to spot a good astrologer is to evaluate the quality of the questions that they are asking with the person and the thing whose chart we're looking at being the most important kind of reference point for asking those questions, right? It's not really about the chart. It's about what we're wondering about the world. It's not, it's not just it's not just about the chart for an event. It's about what is that event about. And I think astrology is a handy tool for helping drop probes to sort out our reality and to use our own mental skills and spiritual and psychological skills for forming a somewhat more organized inquiry. I.e., astrology is less like stuffing your money in the mattress and more like putting it in a structured system like an investment portfolio of some kind. And like that more structured system, astrology tends to give its secrets away slowly and gently, but I promise you is responsive. Whatever this thing that's running, the daimon that's running the whole astrology show, is responsive to sincere inquiry. Sincere inquiry. Tao Te Ching says divination works as long as the diviner is sincere. Okay, so on that note, I leave you and say hello and goodbye from Pluto and Ceres. Oh, they're good friends. They're somewhat rivals actually over Persephone. All right, that's another story. Kate, thank you for producing this video. Everyone else, thank you. Please subscribe, please share, and Planet Waves is supported exclusively by our subscribers and members. We do not monetize videos. All we sell are my readings and subscriptions to my services that supports this vast Planet Waves operation. So thank you for doing your part with that. Okay, till another day. Bye for now.